In this episode, we're going to discuss the origins of where my training came from. Go into great detail of the humiliating and very humbling first attempts at that type of training. What the purpose is, what kind of mindset you have to have, and ultimately, what led me down the course that I'm on now. So with work, I ended up moving to Utah. During that time, I had already had these programs, I had all this instruction, and even though what my time with Ali to be able to learn, I probably didn't learn a millionth of a tenth of a percent of the knowledge that he possesses. It gave me at least the building blocks and the foundation to start applying a process. I already had the fact that I absolutely hated being just bad at something. So I applied myself to the knowledge that he had given me, and it started to unlock natural abilities and natural flow. And it allowed me, with the ability to open my hips, my shoulders, range of motion, all these different things that he taught me, really brought a new perspective of how I was able to generate boxing footwork, boxing techniques, movement, angles, flow, distance, timing, and set it up that the moment that I throw a jab, I have an endless amount of areas that I can go with it. So I had an opportunity to fly back to Fort Collins and train with Ali for 3 days. So these 3 days consisted of going through new programs, which we'd spend about an hour to walk through every single one of the exercises. And then Ali put me through the exercises. So all total, it was about a 3-hour overall training process for each program. So one day we did one for 3 hours. The next day we did two combined. And then we finished up with the last one on the third day. So while this guy was training, Ali mentioned to him the training that I had just wrapped up over 3 days and the difficulty behind the training that we were doing. And I could tell you that within me, I was able to push myself through that. So here was a full circle journey from the moment of the first time that I took a class that I could barely finish to now being able to really push and drive. And I had done that over a 9-month period of really isolating in every single workout. So when I started training with Ali and I first moved from Dallas to Fort Collins, at that time I weighed about 225 pounds. Now again, I'd focused all of my athletic ability towards playing quarterback in football. So carrying size was advantageous for me. After training with Ali for roughly about 9 months total, we did a body fat test. At that point, I weighed 204, and I remember being 14% body fat. And it was frustrating because one, I was 200 pounds, 14%, and even though that isn't necessarily from an athletic standpoint a bad body fat percentage, it's not where I wanted to be, and it's definitely not fight shape. So when I moved to the South, I continued to train and find new ways to get explosive in everything that I'd been taught. I got to the point where in the very beginning, I struggled to hit a 36-inch box jump to the point where I was able to land it in moments and times at a 54-inch box. So really working on explosiveness, working on quickness, working on agility. Started incorporating a lot of the exercises that not only that I had learned, but also in my mind thinking through the anatomy of the flow or just the actual movement itself. What would it flow into next? And I spent 3 solid years of just continuing to push myself day in and day out. And there's a lot of obstacles that come with work. Obviously, I was traveling a lot in the particular role and position that I had. I was working from anywhere from North Carolina to Jackson, Mississippi, and constantly on the road. There was many times that I would not get to a hotel room until sometimes 11 or 12 in the morning. Nothing stopped me from progressing. Nothing. There's times I was inside Anytime Fitness, sometimes at 11:30, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, training, and then getting right back up in the morning and going and doing my job. But nothing was going to stop me from getting better, and nothing was going to stop me from this continued journey of being able to continue, because I had a responsibility. I had this imparted knowledge that was given to me, and I held that such as a value that it was shared with myself, that the one way that I could repay it back was just to continue to get better, continue to get faster, continue to get stronger, and to find limits and boundaries that were beyond anything that I personally could do at that time. So after 3 years in the South region, I made my way back to Colorado. Once I returned, just to kind of keep it in perspective, I had moved from 204 pounds from the moment that I left to roughly about 190 when I was in the South region. I moved to Colorado and started more specific fight training. Worked on conditioning. By this time, I created what's called a 1500. It's essentially 15 exercises, 100 reps, no rest. You just go. That eventually became the 2000, which eventually became the 3000, and it's just an evolution process. So Ali gave me advice on one specific thing to create the best weapon you can when it comes to fighting, and it's conditioning. If your conditioning is at a level where your confidence and you can create a pace that your opponent can't keep up with, you can mentally shut down someone, no matter their abilities, no matter their skill set, simply because their brain starts telling them, I'm not going to be able to keep this pace up. That is the number one weapon that you have when you go into any single situation. Do you have the mental capacity to outlast the obstacle, the situation, or in this case, an opponent?